Welcome to Sammy Joe's podcast, the show that is all about gaining insights from top performers as they share what made their team successful and translate those ideas into your everyday lives and businesses. Here's your host, three-time Olympian, professional speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Sammy Joe Small.
Welcome to episode 12 of Sammy Joe's podcast, where I interview three-time Olympic gold medalist and Hockey Hall of Famer, goalie Kim St-Pierre. From Chateauguay, Quebec, Kim went to McGill University, where she rewrote the record books, earning top athlete honors as a U Sports National Athlete of the Year. She joined the national team in 1999 and went on to win 5 IIHF World Championships, earning top goaltender honors in 2001. She played for the Montreal team in what was the NWHL, eventually becoming the CWHL, earning both a national championship and 2 Clarkson Cups. For her incredible skills on the ice, this past year she became the first female goaltender inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. I hope you enjoy my interview with Kim St-Pierre. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional Indigenous owners of country throughout Canada and pay my respect to them, their culture, and their elders, past, present, and future. So, Kim, I had the pleasure of being your teammate for more than a decade, and you had such incredible success for Canada between the pipes. But more than that, you're such a great teammate and really a great person. So it's really a pleasure now to be able to rightfully call you Hall of Famer, Kim St-Pierre. Thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Sammy. It was a pleasure to share all those years with the national team with you.
Well, we certainly had a lot of memories together, didn't we? So let's start. I guess I'm curious about your life now. You're raising 2 boys, along with your husband, Lenny. And what's it like? I only have a girl, so I'm kind of curious what's it like to raise 2 boys?
Well, they love hockey for sure. My boys are 7 and 9 years old already. Aiden is the youngest.
That's
and Liam is the oldest.
Yeah.
It goes by fast, but for sure I enjoyed so much my career with the national team. But as you probably went through it as well, the transition made it so much easier to have kids because we kind of want to play hockey for our whole life. And for me, I didn't know what to expect, but now that they're involved in sports, it's so amazing to see them meet new friends and win and lose game. And it's a process. And it reminds me of probably what my parents had to go through with me all these years in training camps. And so I'm so lucky that my kids like physical activity and sports. So they're not goalies yet. I know they're getting older, but sometimes they ask me for some tips and tricks, but no, they prefer to score some goals. And but I'm always there to support them. And it's we don't sit a lot and watch TV. They pretty much like soccer as well and baseball for the summer, and then they get to play hockey and ski in the winter. So yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
And so they kind of learned after your husband how to score goals, I guess, right?
Exactly. I don't have to worry about this, but no, it's fun. I'm giving them the perspective of a goalie, like where to shoot and when and why. And, so
all the tips, all the tricks of the trade, right? That we give away now later in life.
Exactly.
Are there, values that you try to instill in your boys, from your career, from being a woman in sport and being a woman in industry? How do you share and impart that into your boys?
Well, it's so great because last year on Liam's team, there was 9 boys and the goalie was a little girl. So it was so great to see how the boys were interacting with the little girl, and they were all 8 or 9 years old. And it was so nice to see that there was no difference. Our goalie was just there every day, part of one of the boys, and Liam and Aiden are always asking me why we don't have a professional league. Like for them, why don't we see women play hockey on TV? Like they don't see a difference as a lot of people, but now it's getting better. But I like how they see the hockey world as we're hockey players. Not, they're just girls and they don't play in the NHL, they don't get paid. So I think it's going to help the progress of the women's game, because if these kids 7 to 9 years old don't make as much of a big deal like when we were younger, we had to go through so many bad words, and same for our parents. But now the little girls, they can play hockey without being scared of what the other people are thinking. So I'm excited to see this, and it's because of, all the hockey that we can see on TV. We want to see more, so that the little girls want to play at a pro level, but for the little boys to see how girls and women can play hockey.
And how hard they work. I'm even noticing it at the NHL level, that the younger NHL guys either went to school with girls that had girls play on their team, saw female athletes at their gym working really hard. It wasn't even a question. It was, so any of the misogyny or any of the chauvinism that we had to deal with, hopefully, like you said, a lot of that will go away. I have a friend of mine who, we used to visit in Montreal all the time, and her little boys only ever saw me play hockey. So whenever we came to play Montreal, they would come and visit, and they went to their first Canadian, Montreal Canadiens game, and they saw Jocelyn Thibault play, and his name was Jocelyn. So they assumed that he was a girl, and they thought that every single team just had one girl, and they were the goalie. So I thought that was a really cute story that, well, why is that a boy? That's the goalie. That has to be the girl.
Yeah, like we still see it on a few teams, but now I think there's so many opportunities for little girls to play on an all-girls team, and there's still some girls that prefer to play on boys' team, and I respect that because that's the way I went, and I think everyone has a different situation, a different personality, so that's what I usually tell the parents, that it depends on your child. Like, do they like the challenge? Are they too shy? Are they enjoying it? So I tell my kids too. Now there's hockey 12 months a year. There's like training camps. There's private lessons, skills lessons. So I'm like, as long as your boy, your girl is happy and they're excited to go for it. But for me, I still like the multi-sport approach where summer sports, winter sport, and if they're a good athlete, they'll make it if they need to make it. But that's not the end goal.
Right.
And it wasn't this for me. It just happened. And, we all have such a different stories that led up to become one of the best in Canada. But there's so much that can happen. But as long as they enjoy and then they make amazing friends and meet coaches as well, that's going to guide them and make them grow. I think that's the goal of kids being involved in sports.
Well, I love what you said first, I love that you, encourage both boys and girls hockey, because that is important. And, I always say to parents to ask your daughter, because she knows, like, is she having fun? And does she want to be around girls? Does she want to be around boys? I know for me, I loved my experience with my teammates, and I'm sure like you, I had a really great experience, but not everybody does. And I'm really aware of that. And I know for my daughter, she definitely loves being around mostly little girls. And so I could see her, we got her into hockey this year, but it was a little bit different because you can't go in the dressing room. You can't do any of that. But I can see her loving like the extra stuff, like going to a tournament and being with your teammates and having the matching scarves and doing the cheers. I could see her just loving that. So it just depends, like you said. And I love that multi-sport approach as well. That's definitely what I did. And I think it keeps you balanced too. So then you're never really too up or too down. And why do we play sports at the end of the day? It's not to go to the Olympics. It is to develop the person, right? And that's what it can do.
Oh, exactly. And just different opportunities. Like Leanne was a soccer player and I decided let's try baseball. I was like, oh, you're crazy. You're doing 2 summer sports. I was like, yeah, but there's 8, 9 years old. Like, it's okay to practice once in a while. And he fell in love with the sport of baseball, and he learned how to catch and how to throw and how to hit the baseball. And that's part of growing up as a child, just to get all these skills. And at some point, he'll decide if he wants to be a baseball player or soccer. So I know when you become an elite player, you have to make some hard choices, like probably you did and I did too. So, but now when they're so young, when they're still at the elementary school level, like, I think they should touch every sport that they can and then see what like sparkles something inside of them, so that they're willing to put hours and hours and they're having fun. And so we'll see what they do.
And yeah, I love that, just exposing them to a bunch of different things and letting them find their passion. My parents were not hockey people, and they allowed me to find my joy, to find things that I loved doing. And I'm sure that it wasn't always easy for them. But now I see that passion that my daughter has when she dances and when she does ballet and when she does gymnastics. And it wouldn't necessarily be what I would choose for her, but to see the joy on your kids' faces, there's nothing like that, right? And were your parents always encouraging of you playing hockey, or were they resistant initially? And how many different things did they expose you to before you really sort of focused on hockey?
Well, I started as a figure skater when I was 5 because if I wanted to be on the ice, it was the figure skating was the only option. But my dad was a hockey player. He was drafted by the New York Rangers, never made it to the NHL, but he grew up playing against and with Marcel Dion and Yvon Lambert. So
was he a goalie or was he a forward?
Defense.
Oh wow, goalie's best friend. I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he understood the hockey world, and I have 2 brothers, and they would always play hockey. So if I wanted to be with them, I needed to be the goalie. And my older brother started playing hockey, and we had a nice ice surface in our backyard. So a lot of kids were coming to play hockey. So at some point, I kind of discovered the sport when we were not supposed to play hockey. Like figure skating was going well. I was doing all these shows. But then I just fell in love with hockey. But I was the only girl until I was 18 years old on my in my minor hockey association in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu and in Chateauguay. But I had such a great support. Maybe because being a goalie, we're a bit different. So being a girl, you're already so different. But like I said, I was playing hockey only in the winters, and I was a soccer player and a softball player as well. But I was introduced to tennis, to swimming, to so many other sports. And at some point, he goes, okay, I have to cut a few sports. And I ended up like being a softball player for Team Quebec and then a hockey player in the winter. And that's why at some point, with the opportunity with the national team, I decided to become a hockey player. But I was just so happy whenever I had a practice or a game. And and my summer sports, it's funny, I was playing on an all-girls team because that was the option where I grew up. Hockey was not an option. I was just with the boys, but soccer and fastball, I was just with an all-girls team. So maybe I got to grow as a person.
You had both experiences.
Yeah, how I needed to kind of be stronger with the boys being so different, but then with the girls, it was just so easygoing and I was not as shy. So I kind of had 2 personality almost. And when I transitioned to women's hockey, it was just so weird to me, like just a different in the locker rooms, different in tournaments, and everything was very different. But the transition to McGill University made it easy for me. Well, it was hard the first few months, but then it was the best decision of my life. So at some point, you have to move to the women's game, and for me, it was that late, but it was the greatest decision.
Yeah, my first women's team was actually the Olympic team in 1998. So I had never seen other women play, and I don't know if you had this feeling, but because I was around guys so much and most of them thought that girls couldn't play hockey, that was the feeling that I had. And so when I stepped on the ice with these women for the first time, I was amazed that there were so many other women that played hockey. I just never seen that, and that they were so good, but it was so different as a goalie to still let in just as many goals. I mean, still they beat me so much, and yet they weren't shooting as hard. So I would get mad at myself, and it was just hard to sort of come to terms with the fact that it was different. But also like being able to shower after the game for the first time, like being able to stay until the coach finished talking. And I was always in the boys' dressing room, but I always had to be so quick changing. And I think later in my career, I became really slow because I finally could like talk to people and like be in the dressing room. So I love that. And your dad played high level of hockey, but I know your mom also, even later in life, was a triathlete. So she grew up doing a ton of sports. And so what was her influence on your career? Was she initially reluctant, or she just felt like if this is what you want to do, this is what you can do?
No, I had great support from the beginning, from what I remember. I think they did not want me to become a goalie because of everything that it involved. And I was a really good skater because I had done like 3 years of figure skating. And a few years ago, the goalie was the player that couldn't really skate. They were like, just stand in there, we'll put the equipment on you and figure it out. But for me, one day, they were looking for a goalie. I was probably 8 years old, and The equipment was all brown, nothing very attractive, but I don't know. I just said, I want to try. And my mom was like, oh, no. It's like just one practice. So I had my practice, then it went well. So I said, just one game and I'll be done. And then I lost my first game, like 8-0. So my parents were probably high-fiving each other and say, okay, she's going to be done with this.
Right.
But then they saw how like sad I was, and I didn't even go sleep at my house. I went to, I think my grandma's house because I was so mad at my parents. But I think they saw I had this little passion for the equipment. I was always playing with my brother as a goalie as well. So they kind of told me, you have to play another game. And then starting from there, everything went so well, and I was having some success, and then I never left the position. So I think they had to let me become a goalie. But no, my mom was always there to support. She was excited to see me, I think, becoming a goalie. And even if it was really hard with playing boys hockey, she heard a lot of things for tryouts, and when we get picked over a boy, it's a lot of things during games. But I told her, like, I didn't feel bad. I think I grew up becoming like a stronger person because of that. And I understood at some point that it was not personal to me. It was just mostly frustration. And probably you did the same when the little boys lose against you and you have to see them at school the next day. Then they're shy. They don't want to tell their friends that they lost against a girl. So at some point I kind of went the other way, like, it's not negative. Like, take it as a challenge, take it as a motivation. And I think that's when I started becoming stronger. And my parents probably saw that I was okay with all of this. I think I wanted to be a hockey player. That's the way we had to go. And it was a real passion watching the Habs on TV and talking with my dad. My dad had a hockey school for 20 summers, so I was always involved there. So it was just a part of our life. And my mom, she's still my idol, my role model for being so active. She like 2 years ago did her 6th Ironman in Tremblant. And
wow, incredible.
She's really in a good shape. She likes swimming, biking, and running. And because of COVID, we had to be separated like everyone else, and we started doing these online workouts. I don't know if you remember Emmanuelle Blais. She was a program.
Always one of the fittest players. Yes,
and she's a great CrossFit trainer, and so every week she's sending me workouts that I was Zooming or FaceTiming my mom. So
that's special.
150 workouts that we've done together over the year. So she motivates me, I motivate her, and she's been always there for me. Good, we see good times, bad times, and I think because of my dad and my mom, that's what gave me the passion to be active, and now I have the privilege to do this with my 2 boys.
Well, and certainly the strength to be on the world stage. I'm sure that, living with them, that they imparted that on you. And I think probably the worst position in all of hockey is the goaltender's parents. It is so hard on parents. And, I see, cause I run a hockey school or goalie school, and every parent just, shakes their head at the fact that they have to live with everybody else blaming them for their child's goals or whatever it is. But I'm sure they dealt with a lot. My mom ended up usually going to get a coffee when the game was really close, like going into the canteen. And then my dad was just kind of the guy always telling jokes, like always having a good time and trying, paying attention to the game, but trying to not get too wrapped up in it. So I was very fortunate to not have that pressure from them, but I knew that it was really hard because everybody looked at them all the time. So you talked a little bit about McGill and what that decision meant for you. I'm curious if when you decided to go to McGill, there was other options, and then what did the impact of actually going to McGill have on you as a person, first and foremost, and then on you as a hockey player?
Well, I didn't really have a choice to go to McGill. It's not my hockey career was over. When I was about 14, 15, I got invited for the first time to go for Team Quebec, the girls team, the women's team. So I didn't know, like you, that other girls were playing hockey. I got so excited, but for 4 years in a row, I was never good enough, or I was not able to transition quickly for like a weekend of tryouts. So I got released 4 years in a row from Team Quebec. So once you don't make Team Quebec, I didn't make the junior major league in Quebec, no midget AAA. So basically I was done. I didn't have any other options in front of me, and going to the NCAA was not really an option. I remember visiting Vermont. They had asked me to go for a visit, but it was overwhelming. I didn't know if that's the way I wanted to play hockey. Playing with girls was not really going well.
And it was pretty new for us back then too, right? Like it would have been just starting to be an NCAA sport. I know that I'm 2 years older than you, and it wasn't even an option for me. I mean, there was no NCAA women's hockey. It probably was brand new, and I'm sure what you saw was very different than what girls would see nowadays.
Yes, exactly. And playing junior with the boys and just in my small town, and then you go to a huge campus and like having to move away and not speaking English. I'm like, too scared. But then one of my last game, there was someone from McGill University, Dan Madden, coming to ask me if I wanted to play hockey. So I was like, wow, it was a life-changing decision, because I was like, okay, I might be done playing hockey, or I go to McGill and I get to play 4 or 5 more years of hockey. So I got all excited, and my dad was there to translate everything. And at some point he said, you're going to play for the women's team. And I was like, I don't want to play women's hockey. It never works out, and it's not scary, but it's not an option.
No, I felt the same way. I actually pursued Yale and a bunch of different schools, talking to the men's coaches. And of course they didn't want a woman on their team, but I didn't want to make the transition because I didn't know what that was. You know, in my mind, I thought a certain way because of what the boys thought. And probably like you, I just didn't know what was on that other side.
No, that's why when you don't know what it is, it's kind of scary. But I learned that taking risks, sometimes it's the only option. And for me, I didn't speak English. None of my friends from CEGEP were going to McGill. I had to move away. I had to play women's hockey. But the only thing was, once again, my passion for the sport of hockey, saying you're going to get to play 4 or 5 more years of hockey. So I decided to go. I met 2 French teammates when I visited the campus, and going to see the McGill campus is so amazing. It's so prestigious. Everyone talks about McGill. And then meeting 2 French Québécois from the team made it very special. I was so impressed that he could speak French and speak English. The rink is very old. It was not very attractive, but it made it so special. And I decided to go for it. And like I said, it's a decision that changed my life. I met some amazing teammates. They're still my best friends today. That's where I met Lenny, my husband. He was playing for the men's team. So at some point we had the same classes together, and we got to become friends, and now our 2 kids together and learning English. And just a few months after going to McGill, that's when I got my call to go for a tryout for the national team. So that was unexpected, not being able to make Team Quebec, but someone believed in me, and the camp was in Montreal at Maurice Richard Arena. I don't know if you remember.
Yes, yeah. Where the stands were up high. Yeah.
Yes. And Caroline Ouellette, she was my teammate from the Softball Quebec as well. So at least she was there we were there together for her first camp. And I remember first time going around the ice, she was like, wow, this is Danielle Goyette and this is France Saint-Louis. And I was like, who are those girls? I was like, I've never heard of them because they were not on TV very often. So it was just impressive to be able to step on the ice with all of you. And I don't know, I felt good right away. Maybe the caliber was so much better than what I had seen before. And then I made the team that my first year going to McGill and the national team. But that whole year was a big transition for me, moving closer to downtown to go to McGill and going to school in English, transitioning to the women's hockey world. So it was a huge year, and everything went so well because of the support that McGill was able to give me. And especially, like I said, my teammates. I made friends with the other goalie. Her name is Amy Doyle. She did not speak French. I did not speak English. I was like, well, that's going to be fun. But she learned French. I learned English. We moved in the same apartment with other hockey players. So she's my best friend. And Sarah Lomas from Toronto. And there were so many that were there to support me. And they always laugh at the fact that my first few practices, I didn't know anyone. And it was a big transition from the men's game. they say that I would just come to practice, don't say a word, stop all the pucks, get undressed and leave. She's like, who is this girl? Like, and then I learned a few words in English, and being in a university sport is very special. You go to school with your teammates and practice every day. So quickly I got into this new rhythm, and I had so much fun outside of the ice as well, which is so important. And I tried to be successful in the classrooms as well, and finally graduated at some point. But it was the best decision of my life, hockey-wise, and for my life too.
I know you had an incredible relationship with Amy, and she was at so many of the championships, and just really a special person. Tell me about your relationship, because, obviously here she is not getting to play many games. You're getting to play a lot of games. What made her such a special teammate to be able to support you in that way? And what were you able to learn from her?
Oh yeah, she's just so amazing. Even today, always so generous of her time, and whenever I have a question, she's always there to help. So she was amazing, especially the fact that she was already at McGill when I decided to go. So she should have become the number one goalie, but here I am. And not once I felt jealousy, or I felt that she was mad at
that would have been a tough situation for her, for sure.
Yeah. Exactly. So right away, our relationship was really good. That she was learning a lot from what I was doing. But for me, I was also just starting with the national team program, so everything was new. And McGill was not a very good hockey program. We were just trying to build it and to make it a good hockey program. And I was not. We were able to share some duties too. Like, I was not playing all the games at McGill.
Okay.
We were able to share some games. Like, for sure, she was playing the weaker team sometimes, but I was gone also with the national team, so she got to play into the big games as well. And the centralization year for 2001, 2002, she became the number one goalie because I was away. So she knew her time to shine was coming, and but she was always a great leader on the team, always working hard, and we were roommates as well, so we had so much fun. She was in phys ed as well, so she helped me a lot. My homework and essays, and
what are friends for, right?
He kept me on track, and even Peter Smith, the coach at McGill, always made sure that we were really good students as well. But yeah, she gave me a lot personally, and also as a hockey player. She always says that, I was Kim's greatest backup goalie. I was like, no,
I know. I think I've fought her on that several times, but
I said, goalie
I'll give that to her. She did it for more games, so I'll give that to her.
Yeah, but I said we're goalie partners, and I think it was. Yeah, I've never really played with like a number one mentality at McGill. I was just happy to be there because we had so much fun as a team, and we were just getting better and better over the years. And yeah, like I said, even now she built my new website. Like, she's so generous.
Which is actually a really great website. I was just on that today. So congratulations, Amy, on that.
Yes. Her husband, he's a website designer, but now she's a teacher, Amy. So now she had a little more time because she was teaching from home. She got to learn how to design websites as well.
Wow.
So she helped me build my new website, and so great to talk hockey. She's a Leafs fan. I'm a Habs fan, but that's okay.
So tonight is going to be a little bit of a struggle for you guys.
Yeah, we'll get to text each other, but no, she's.
Well, it's really special that you were able to forge those relationships, and I know for a lot of the girls that went to college to play hockey, I mean, I never had that opportunity. That's really where a lot of their lifetime friends were forged. This episode brought to you by Armstrong & Small Eye Care Center. Their Eye Care Center's mission is to provide compassionate eye care in Winnipeg, Manitoba, by a dedicated team of professionals using the latest technical and medical equipment. Started by my grandfather, continued by my father, and now run by my brother Luke and his wife Gina. Their optometrists have been telling people what their eyes say about them for over 100 years. That's a lot of eyes and a lot of experience. After McGill, you went on to play for the Montreal team, which I think when you first started, were they called the Action?
Yes, because I played for the Quebec Avalanche, which was
right. I remember the Avalanche, yes.
for a year.
Yes.
For the Wing Star, and then we changed.
And then they merged together, right? The Avalanche.
Kind of, yeah. Avalanche folded, and it became the Montreal Stars. So.
Right. Okay. So then eventually Les Canadiens.
Yes, I didn't get to that
later on. So that team was always so strong. I can remember them always being at the top of the standings every single year. It was also Team Quebec at the majority of the times whenever you guys were selected to go to the national championships. So I'm curious from your perspective, what made that Montreal team so strong year after year? And you guys won the national championships. You won the Clarkson Cup alongside what looked like some of your best friends. So really, I guess what made that franchise so successful and so special for you?
Yeah, that's a good question, because Team Quebec always seems to have this special energy going. I think it's probably the Quebec, the French group.
Pride.
Yeah, different from everyone else in Canada. But for me, it's two things. It's heart and passion. Every single player on this team was always so excited to see each other, but that we got to play hockey, because everyone was playing everywhere else. But whenever we were able to get on that team, it made it very special. And if you remember Lisa Marie Breton Lebreu, like when there's a player like this on your team that everyone's looking up to, and she brings so much energy and pride and passion to the game. So it was a special feeling to be a part of this group. And some were on the national team, some were also playing at the university level. But when we all got there, it was just hard work all the time, and I think that's what made us really successful.
Yeah, what ended up being Les Canadiens, so the Montreal team, I feel like always attracted some of the top players, but people don't realize that there are so many more players playing in other provinces than Quebec. In fact, there at that point wasn't that many girls playing, and yet you guys always seem to develop this incredible talent, and these girls that kept playing long after their national team careers. I was always so impressed. So it must have been a really special environment to be in that dressing room. What was that like?
Oh yes, a lot of jokes going around, and yeah, like Sabrina Arbeck, which was like so funny, and a lot of these players also went the NCAA way before they got to the Montreal Canadiens. So they all brought some different perspective, different experience, and we're a hockey group, but we're also really good friends. So I think that's what helps, that we got to see each other during the summer, and there was opportunities to hang out together. So then our team building was already made early on in the season. There was always a few new rookies, but then when at some point we got Marie-Philippe as a rookie, it's kind of special that Marie-Philippe Poulin comes in, and right away she feels welcome. And I think it was the mix probably of the younger players and the more experienced one, and the ones that went through Team Canada, and some only went to Team Quebec, but we felt like one, and everyone was like pushing each other. So we definitely wanted to play our best. And I mean, the rivalry with Toronto and the other provinces, or the league with the Toronto, the Mississauga, the Brampton.
Yeah, all of those sort of iterations of whatever our team name was, but also then the Olympic Oval. Those were really the programs, right, that were across the country. And
yes,
it's amazing to see what Danielle Sauvageau has created in Montreal to sort of recreate what you guys had back then with all those top players all in one central location is really neat to see.
Oh yeah, she created the Center 2102. So now all the players from the national team program, and she's attracting players from all over Canada coming to this center, and they're able to practice. They have skill coaches. Like when I played, we had to book ice time and book the skill coaches and try to get all the girls to practice on the same time. But now she's supporting, giving all the resources that the hockey players need so they don't have to worry about everything else. So it's she's been working so hard with her team behind her, Danielle Sauvageau. So and the girls, they love it. Like the Mélodie Daou is there, and Marie-Philippe Poulin, So all these girls now are getting ready for Worlds and the Olympic season, but it's hopefully there's more centers in Canada, so the girls game can grow a lot and hopefully get to our professional league at some point. But it's the professional way that we've been looking for, and then finally Sauvageau has been doing it. But as you know, the financial support is always a challenge, but now we see big companies, big names, wanting to put money and supporting women's hockey. So I'm loving it to see all the progress that's being made.
Yeah, and I feel like every day you open the newspapers and something new or great has happened for either a woman in the game or for women's hockey. And it's a fun time to be a part of. I'm sure not easy for a lot of the girls in this situation that they're going through, but it also, I feel like there is a lot of excitement. It's an exciting time because the future, I think, is going to be so amazing. And I can't wait to see what that is. But also they get to be a part of building it. And what Danielle Sauvageau has created, I think, is what other centers should do. I mean, it seems like exactly what the athletes need. And yeah, she's pulled away a lot of athletes from other places, and those girls got centralized. So it makes sense at this moment. So, I guess let's transition from Montreal days, to your national team days. So you were, a goaltender in 3 Olympic Games, winning, gold every time. I'm curious from your perspective, what your thoughts on why and how Canada managed to come out on top for more than a decade. I mean, we weren't winning everything, but when it mattered, we won. And what do you think made that difference?
I think for sure our commitment as individual players. Yes, sometimes we don't get along with the coaches or we get different playing times, but I think at some point we all buy in and we realize that as a team, we can win and we're bigger than just as an individual. There's nothing to gain if someone scores 3 goals or if the goalie doesn't let any goal. For me, the team was always bigger than everything else. And having the privilege to represent our country, it's our national sport. I think right away it showed our passion and commitment to winning. And we've always seen the pressure as a privilege. For us, it was something so special to be able to compete for gold every year. And for me, what it made it special is the leadership group that's been there. And when I started and then when I finished, I was a part of it. But it seemed that the leadership group on this team is always so, so special and makes feel everyone that everyone has a big role to play in this final game. And I think probably also the respect that we all had for each other, understanding that some would get playing times and it would be harder for other people. But when it was harder, like it's been harder for me, it was harder for you at some point, there was always someone to pick you up. That's probably the team special feeling that we had, that we were all in this together. And maybe it's coming from our centralization when we would do the boot camp for 3 weeks. We needed everyone together, 3 weeks of intense off ice. It was nothing hockey related. We had a bit of hockey, but it was all about doing a triathlon and hiking and running.
Just crazy long days, tired, exhausted.
Yes. So that's probably what made us get to know each other more as individual and understanding that we were all in this together and we needed everyone to survive all of this, survive an Olympic season or World Championship. It's never easy with the pressure, but then, we were able as a team to come up on top for so many years.
I love that just line. We needed all of each other to survive. Well, it's so true, right? And I like how you phrased it, that we had incredible respect for each other. And I think that, in that pressure environment, you're competing for spots. You're competing against, and the coaches are often, forwards are competing for spots on the power play or whatever. Everybody is wanting more than what they had, but using that to fuel the team. And even though the coaches, I think, often put us, not you and I, but all the team against each other to say, you got to make this team. I think we had an incredible leadership crew, as you mentioned. I just did a podcast with Cassie, and she talked about what it was like to lead basically an entire team of captains too, that were captains on their own teams. So we had this just really great group in my opinion. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but we had this great group of people that I think were, willing to share their disappointments, willing to share the tough times with each other. And like you said, have people, to pick you up. I recently read that you woke up the morning of the final game in 2002 and you saw the sunshine. And you said that you love the sun and you just knew because of that we were going to win that day. Do you think in that final game, I mean, you played exceptional, but do you think you played differently that day? Or do you feel like it was just the culmination of all the training and that was Kim St-Pierre? Or do you think it was like more than you've ever done on that day? What was your feeling during the game?
No, I think it was a team thing, a team feeling, because we had played the Americans 8 times in preparation. We lost all games. We were never really getting close to winning a game. They had centralized 6 months prior to us. So the whole year we felt like we were always behind, but the coaching staff was believe in our system, believe in our plan, and we'll peak. So that kept me going, this peak idea that we'll get there at some point, but we needed to be patient. And for athletes, for me, I need to win to feel good. You need to win to say, okay, it's going well. But when you lose, it's hard to play with confidence, to show confidence. And even talking to each other was always pretty much negative because we're just losing against the team that we'll probably face in the final. So I don't know how we were able to keep our team together and not, and still all be friends and trying to compete for this gold medal. But at some point we realized that it would be one hockey game. Like I realized it did not matter everything else that had happened before. It's going to be 60 minutes. And I think what helped, yes, the sunshine, but no, but it was a special feeling because I don't know, there was so much pressure, like first Olympics as well. And I knew the situation you were into as well. Like we were competing for this final game, like training. So like 4 years for this final game. So you know how it's hard to deal with all of these emotions. So I saw the sunshine. It was just a sign. It was like, I think it's going to be a good day today. And
did you do anything personally for you between the semi and the final? Because you say that, yeah, losing is hard. But also as a goalie, sometimes when you feel like things just aren't going your way, it's hard. So did you do anything to regain that confidence that was apparent in that final game? Or did you just let the natural cycle go to where you peaked on that day?
Yes, I think it was just us, especially when we got to the Olympics, we started winning easily against the other country. And when we faced the adversity in the semifinals, it was the semifinals. We won 7-3, but at some point we were down like 3-1. So I think that brought our team together. I think that's when we realized that we're going to get through this together. It helped us energize our team as well. So when we won this, we're like, okay, finally our parents have tickets for the gold medal. Because like, what if we were such in a panic? But as a team, we managed with Cassie's leadership to say, relax, everybody. We faced a lot of adversity this year. Like, let's go again. Like, it's just one more piece to the puzzle that we're going to add. And then the final game, scoring the first goal, like Jana's goal, one of my favorite of all time. Right away, I think there was like 30 pounds off of my shoulders. Like, okay, we're winning 1-0. And then all the penalties that we got, probably 13, 14 total. Every time we were able to beat that power play from the U.S. team, I felt our team growing and no panic from our bench, and everyone was there. Then we scored a second goal, and what a goal. And then we got scored on, but I didn't feel that it really mattered. I think we were so composed the whole game. And like I said, we grew as a team and then finally won that game. But I didn't feel extra pressure. For me, we had nothing to lose, and I think that's probably why we showed up that day and played free. Because nothing worse could happen than losing 9 games. Nobody would have talked about us. And we're in the U.S., and for me, the crowd was so loud, but in my mind, it was like, they're cheering for us. They're not cheering for the U.S. team. And at some point we finished on top, but.
Tell me about that final 10 seconds, about what it felt like. I've often heard you say it felt like an hour. You know what? I didn't remember too much about it until I wrote my book. And in the book, I had to rewatch the game several times. Couple things that I didn't remember. I mean, obviously I knew, but I didn't remember your stick breaking halfway up the shaft, and that nobody else on the ice seemed to notice what was going on, that you were at the top of your circles almost with no stick. And the U.S. didn't even notice. They came out of their zone and then they went offside or something. So that was one thing. And then in the final seconds, Jen Botterill, basically forechecked one of the Americans who had a fairly good path to the net, forechecked her and got the puck out. And there was time for you guys to sort of appreciate the moment as the puck's going down the ice. So tell me from your perspective what that was like.
It was crazy. The last 10 seconds, I was just, like I said, it lasted forever. And then you don't want to look at the clock because, you never know if the puck's going to come. But then I was realizing that we were gold medal champions. So it was very special. And then as soon as when I heard the buzzer, I just threw everything up in the air. And then I saw a train coming. It was just Wickenheiser was there and Geraldine Heaney, and everyone jumped on top of me. But it was very special to hear all the girls. We were so excited. It was a great build up from this Olympic season to becoming Olympic champions, and especially after losing in '98, it was our first gold medal. So it made it so special to be a part of this group.
Is it true that you felt concussed and didn't drink that night because you hit your head so hard on the post when they all jumped on top of you?
Yes, when I watched the slow motion video, I see that I fall on my back, and then my helmet is hitting the post, and so I don't know if it was this or it was just being so amazed that we were Olympic champions. When I grew up, I just wanted to go to the Olympics in every sport but hockey, because I knew women were not playing hockey back then. So for me, it was a dream coming true. So I don't know if it's that excitement and plus the post in the head. And when we see our parents and you're so exhausted and tired, and when we finally had to maybe have a drink or two, I was like, it's okay. We're just going to celebrate.
We'll celebrate for the next 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. But it was overwhelming. It was very special. And I was so happy that my parents came. They were supporting me this whole time since I was 5 or 6 years old. So to have them with me in Salt Lake City was very special. And one of the pictures I see in one of the book, I'm trying to put my gold medal through one of the glass at the rink so my mom can actually touch it.
Oh, nice.
It's part of this. But yeah, thanks to your book, it's bringing me so much memories. I don't have a great memory, but being able to read all of your stories, it makes it so special as well.
Well, it's interesting because I also don't really think I have a great memory, but I took lots of notes. So when I reread a lot of the notes, I had to go back and look at game tape because I thought that didn't happen, did it? Or this didn't happen. So I think we remember things in our own way, and Cheryl Pounder says that she hasn't watched the 2002 Olympic gold medal game because she doesn't want to know anything she did wrong. She wants to just remember it in such the special way that she feels it. Mm-hmm. So that's not a bad thing either. But I want to dive a little bit deeper into our teammates, and specifically your relationship with Charlene Labonte. She was also our goalie partner for a long time, and the two of you had a really special relationship. And I think for our listeners, it would be very incredibly valuable for people to hear how to support somebody in a workplace environment that is, you're vying for the same spot. You guys had just such a special relationship despite all of that. And how did you guys deal with those feelings? Because at one point she came in, she was young, she's the rookie looking up to you. And then at another point she's playing. So how did you guys manage that? And did you guys communicate, or it was just because you guys were great people, you could deal with it?
No, but you're right. It's the same in the business world. And when I do some speeches, like, people like to know, because everyone's competing against each other, but in the end, we're playing for a team. We're working for a business, and we want the business to do good, or we want the team to do good. And same thing when you were there was 3 of us, and we wanted the starting position, and only one of us. And I think it's a process, like a learning process. And for me, it was through experience, because playing with the boys, I was mostly the number 1 goalie for the last 4 or 5 years of my career with the boys. So you get to the national team, we're all number 1 goalies, and it's a long process. We don't sign contracts, and maybe that's one of the reasons why we got so good. It's because we're always out of our comfort zone. Every practice was so important to me. And I'm sure it was to you, and it was to Charlie, because we knew there was coaches looking at us, the goalie coach.
You never knew what was important to the coaches, right? Or what day they would be really watching you, because they could be watching all the other players. You don't know what day. So you had to be on all the time.
Yes, exactly. And looking up to you, and then I see that you were working so hard, and same thing with Charlie. It's like, okay, I need to work hard as well. So I think when you're competing against people that work hard, that are dedicated and passionate, it brings the best out of you. We're all competitive, but like I said, through my experience, I think I learned a lot, that we needed to find a way to work together for the best of the team. But if it's good for you, it's going to be good for the team as well. Like, you don't want to expect someone to play bad, but I know that if you play bad or Charlie plays bad, then we get a chance. It's hard because on the other side, like, I want you to have a good game because our team is going to win, and in the end, we're going to become world champion or Olympic champion. So once you see the positive, instead of seeing going against each other, but we're working together towards the same goal. Like, same thing in business. If I make you better, you'll make me better, then we're all better in the end. So I think it was learning from your style that was so different than mine, and then learning from Charlie's style when she joined the national team. Then I got to become better. And I think probably the same for you and Charlie. And same thing when Shannon Zavados joined the program. Now she was the youngest. Charlie was pushing, and then I was probably almost done. So same thing, learning from what Shannon would bring to this hockey team, how, like, competing. She was competing every single day, every practices, every game was so special to see her play. So I think once you find the best in your teammates or coworker, and then apply that to your style of play of work, then we all become better. And we're not always best friends, for sure. Like, there's some days that it's going better for me than for you or other goalies, but it's a long process. And in the end, we compete for the same team. So, but it wasn't always easy, but I think we learned a lot through this.
That's a great way of describing it, that lifting each other up lifts everybody up and lifts the team up. And like you said, it wasn't always easy. And in my book, I tried to get across those feelings, that it is natural to feel that way, to want somebody else to fail, or for a team to not possibly go on without you, because you want to feel valued. But I think what made that team very special is that we were able to find our value, even if you weren't the person scoring the big goal, or you weren't the person on the power play, that others were able to lift you up in those moments. That's what I found. And I know one of your best friends from the team ended up being Caroline Ouellette. So I wanted to end this podcast with, I know that she has been an incredible player and incredible person. She's had such an influence on the game at so many different levels. But what do you think made her such a special teammate and really a special leader within that program, and still now?
Oh, she is. Yes, definitely. What she's doing now for the women's game, either at the grassroots level where she's organizing all her hockey tournaments, and she's putting on a team of Pee Wee girls to compete in the big Quebec boys hockey tournament, and now working with the Concordia Stingers as a head coach. She brings so much knowledge to the game, experience. I've seen her coach, and I'm always impressed by her speeches and the way she's a leader for women's hockey. And her career, like how she tells her story, it's a great one where she started like as a young rookie with no confidence.
I know, she was so quiet when she first came in. She said nothing. Really? I mean, she was such this, like, she didn't even use her size. She just you felt like she was shy. But that wasn't really her until she came out of herself.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the English barrier as well. Like, she didn't speak a lot of English when she joined the national team. And the role, she had to accept the role that she played in 2002. And then it made her becoming like a leader on the team. And she even played defense at some point for the national team.
Oh, so yeah, in 2006. She was named a defenseman on the team. I forgot about that.
Yeah. They tried her on defense and she went with it. And remember, she had issues skating a bit backwards. Like, it was not easy to transition from a forward to now skating a lot more backwards. But she took it as everything for her is a challenge. And she always wants to win, whatever we do. So that's her mentality, that if you do it to win. You do it at your best. And she was inspiring to me for that. Every single workout that we had to do in the weight room, she was always going all out. All practices, she was going all out. So that made her like a really like hard worker and wanting to improve. Like, she would stay on to do so many breakaways on us. She wanted to have this low blocker shot perfect so that she would score for games.
The amount of one-timers that she would make me stay on after to just over and over and over and over. She has a hard shot. Probably one of the heaviest shots that I've ever faced. So you guys did it more often than I did. But yeah, she just always wanted to do that little bit extra.
Yeah, so she definitely just went one step at a time and learned from such amazing leaders on our team, like Therese Brisson and Vicky and Cassie, and France St. Louis was her idol. So she took it one step at a time, and everyone had so much respect from Caro, from all her hard work and intensity. That everything was so intense to her, and then she finally was the captain for the national team. And now seeing her as a coach, I would see her be recruited to work for an NHL team at some point, because she would bring so much. Hopefully we keep her on the women's side of the game, but she would deserve this kind of opportunity, as we see that more women are working for NHL teams now. And also she's a great and precious friend. We played all our years together. We played pass ball together with Team Quebec. So she's been an amazing friend. And now seeing her with her little family, it's pretty cool to see.
Well, that's amazing. And I think that we were both very lucky to have such special teammates. And somebody like Cato, I think, is not known by many people as to why she was in the position she was in, because often she was quieter. And but to me, after probably 2 or 3 years on the national team, she really came into her own and started to speak her voice. And to me, I think she was just an incredible leader. I mean, we had so many leaders on the team, but I have such respect for the way that she included everybody and wanted everybody to feel valued within that team. So it's awesome to see that you guys are still such great friends. And I love seeing her as a mother and going through all of these new challenges, right? So I guess overall, what was your favorite moment that you lived in hockey? Besides the Olympic experience, what would you say that you have taken away? Maybe favorite moment's the wrong word. What do you think that you've taken away from hockey into motherhood now?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, for sure in hockey, we're the center of the attention. Like, we do everything for us. And when I had my 2 sons, they're 19 months apart. Then it's not about us anymore, just us. There's other things to consider, and giving my time to my kids. Probably patience. Patience is something very important. And as hockey players, we learn how rest was important to take care of ourselves. And I think as moms too, at some point we forget about us. We always want to give so much to our kids. So to take some time for myself as well makes me a better mom. And, yeah, I'm still learning. I know they're 7 and 9, but it's the best. I remember when, I was a hockey player still, and Cassie had her daughter, and she said, you'll see when you're pregnant and you have your first child, it doesn't compare to anything that you live through hockey. And she was right. Like, it's so special to go through pregnancy and then finally have my first son. Hockey was very special, but now I really appreciate as well this new life, being a mother, and now also coaching a little bit with my boys. So it's a lot of fun, but definitely that's what I'm bringing into my mom's life.
I love it. Well, that's a great way to end this. It has been such a pleasure for me to really get to know you away from Team Canada. I think that I've got to know you more since being your teammate, because I think often, we're at the other end of the rink, and, you're kind of in your own circle of friends, and I'm in my own circle of friends. And I think we always got along, but I feel like every event I do with you, I learn more and more about you, and just your humbleness, your support, and your real love of the team, and your willingness to want to build everybody else up is something I'm so grateful for. And I think so appreciate having had you as a goalie partner for so long, I think is what made all of us better. So thank you. I'm grateful for the time and the memories that we were fortunate enough to share. And it really, truly is a pleasure to get to call you my friend. So thank you so much for being on my show.
Thanks, Sammy. And same to you. You were there when I first started, and you showed me the way. So I owe you a lot as well.
Well, thank you. All right. Good luck with everything. Take care.
Thank you, Sammy. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Sammy Joe's podcast. If you have suggestions for guests in the future, would like to book her for your next event, advertise on this podcast, or to purchase her latest book, The Role I Played, please go to www.sammyjoesmall.ca.